So today I want to start focusing on the thoughts that you're having during stressful situations and the beliefs or rules that you've acquired during your life. And these influence your decisions, okay?
Okay.
So as a reminder, right, we've kind of already talked about what you say to yourself in various situations. So as an example, like if a person thinks that they're a failure in life, then when they make a small mistake, right, that doesn't really affect a whole lot, they might be thinking, I screwed up again, like I always do, and I'm always going to screw everything up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're probably going to feel guilty and they're going to feel sad. And because this person feels so bad, then they might withdraw from others, drink alcohol, something like that to help them feel better, okay? So in contrast, if we have another person who generally thinks that they're smart and competent, when they make a small mistake, they're probably going to think like, oh, bummer, that didn't work out the way I want, and then go through and fix the mistake and just kind of carry on.
Okay.
So the second person might feel like frustrated or annoyed or angry, something like that, when they make a mistake, but they don't really feel sad or guilty about it because they realize that sometimes just mistakes happen. So the assumption and beliefs that we have about ourselves, these can influence how we interpret different events that happen.
Gotcha.
Okay. So today I want to spend a little bit of time focusing on how your thoughts and beliefs are contributing, how they contributed to your suicidal crisis, and how they continue to contribute to negative emotions and distress that you feel on a regular basis. Okay. So to do this, we're going to complete what is called an ABC worksheet. And so these ABC worksheets are designed to help us identify the thoughts and beliefs and assumptions that underlie the decisions we make. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so this worksheet right here, it has several sections on it, and I'll kind of explain those as we go along. So the first box is the A box. And this stands for the activating event. Okay, so this is what happened leading up to the suicidal crisis. So it's kind of like what's going on, what happened. So if you think back to the suicidal crisis that occurred right before you came in to see me, what was the event that triggered that crisis?
Oh boy, it was a pretty long story, kind of. So it was on the weekend, and we were at a bar, and we were all drinking a lot, trying to outcompete each other drinking. And,
Sure.
So I was pretty drunk, and I got into a fight with one of the locals there in California, and he kicked my ass, and so we got kicked out of the bar, and then I had to go. I had to go report into the person on duty, the NCO on duty, and I went in and I got Article 15, and I was feeling pretty bad about that. So then I went and I smoked some weed too, and then I got a drug test and I failed, and I got NJP'd, so non-judicial punishment, and that made it so that I couldn't deploy with my unit to Iraq. And so after that I took some pills, some opiates, I think it was like hydrocodone, and some sleeping pills, and I overdosed.
Okay. So it sounds like ultimately finding out that you weren't going to be able to deploy with your unit
Yeah, that was
might have been.
everything to me. So.
Yeah. Because you had the fight in the bar and the Article 15, but you weren't quite to the point of taking opiates or like that until you found out you weren't going to deploy?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Okay, so let's go ahead and write that in box A, because that's what happened.
should I write Article 15 and then the overdose?
Yep, whatever event it was that preceded you feeling like you wanted to make a suicide attempt.
That's right. Article 15 to the NJP led to the overdose because I couldn't deploy.
Okay. Okay. Good. So we have the event there. Now that we've identified that, we're going to keep going, okay?
Okay.
So we're actually going to do a skip box B and go over to C. Because a lot of times when things like this happen, right, and we find out we're not going to be able to deploy with our unit, or we have an Article 15, we can remember how we were feeling when that happened. It's kind of easier to identify thoughts and emotion, or feelings and emotions, before we figure out what we were thinking about them. Okay, so when this happened, right, when you found out you weren't going to be able to deploy with your unit, what was it that you were feeling?
Angry, really shameful, because like our whole identity is based on deploying, and that's like everything I trained for in boot camp and leading up to that. Trained with my unit to deploy, and so.
Okay, go ahead and write those down. Okay, so now let's go back over to that middle box, B, for beliefs, okay? So we figured out what the activating event was and the consequences of that as far as the feelings and emotions we had. And so now the beliefs that came with that, we want to try and figure out what you were thinking at the time that this happened. An easy way to kind of figure that out is to think back and ask yourself the question, like, what is it I tell myself? Okay. What is it that goes through my mind? So in your suicidal crisis, when this stressful situation occurred and you were feeling shameful and angry, what was it you were telling yourself? What was going through your mind?
Well, kind of that I'm worthless, you know. My utility was based on my ability to serve the unit and serve like the Marine Corps in a more general sense, you know.
So feeling I'm worthless was
Yeah.
thinking that thought. Okay, go ahead and write that down. Okay, so if we recap what we've done so far, the activating event was the set of things that happened that led up to this crisis. Set all of these things in motion, right? And then you started to think very negative things, like, I'm worthless,
Yeah.
right? That's a pretty powerful thing to be telling yourself. And so then when you were thinking that, then you started to feel angry and shameful, right? Got it so far? Okay. So then if we look down into the next box, right, we want to ask ourselves the question, is the belief above helpful? So up here in B, thinking I'm worthless, is that a helpful belief to have?
I don't think I had to answer yes or no. It's not, I don't think, helpful.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel like that's a helpful belief to have about yourself in general at all?
No. I think it's just like kind of a warning sign that something's wrong or a lot of things are wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
So what is it about that belief that is generally unhelpful?
I don't think it really promotes getting out of the situation that I'm in. It probably keeps me in a cycle of self-deprecating behavior and thoughts.
Sure.
Yeah.
Write some of those things down. That's great. Okay, so since you've identified, why this isn't a really helpful thought to have, if you find yourself in a similar situation in the future, what's something different you could tell yourself?
It's hard to like imagine a situation in the future, I guess, because I don't know the outcomes and if I will be able to help my unit or help myself out of this situation, so.
Well, if you can't be there to help your unit or help yourself out of a situation, does that necessarily mean that you're worthless?
No.
Okay, so what might be something helpful that you could tell yourself when you notice that coming up again?
I guess that my sense of self isn't like based on one action or behavior or event in my lifetime. It's more based on like the cumulative sum of everything that I do, and I can't do a lot about what happened in the past other than to try to correct it moving forward.
Right. Okay, write some of that down. These are really good things to tell yourself. So now that you kind of see how the process works, do you have any questions?